I learned how to make introductions from John Ruhlin, how to make them properly, I should say. The last introduction he ever made, it was between me and Will Guidara, of Unreasonable Hospitality, who was just on the podcast not too long ago. In fact, we recorded that while John was still alive. And Will said something that really hit home. We were talking before, so we were getting to know each other a little bit. And he said, John Ruhlin, you can't help but be friends with him. He doesn't allow you not to be friends with him. And that was just how he showed up. Very interested in others, always going above and beyond. There was typically something that showed up in the mail not too long after you met him. And I want to deconstruct how he did this because I now make introductions differently because of John. So the first thing, John was so overly generous with the relationships. He was connected to just about everybody. He just had probably the largest Rolodex I've ever seen. And he was gracious with it. I think a lot of people in life kind of hoard these connections. But here's what was cool is one of the reasons that John was able to connect with so many people is he didn't take advantage of this. He didn't use others for his benefit or on his behalf. Think of him as a guy that was really trying to take all of the people that he was connected with and connect them for their own benefit. And I think that's a really important thing when you look at life. We've all crossed paths, unfortunately, with a lot of takers, that it's just, oh, they're in it for their own personal gain. And John was the exact opposite. He was a giver. And here was what he would do. Because I actually asked John about this. I'm like, hey, help me deconstruct how you do this. So the first thing he would do, John helped build my original podcast. He saw something in me and he introduced me probably to my first 50 guests. I bet he introduced me to at least 10 of those, just out of sheer goodwill. And what he would do is he would check with both sides. So for example, Will and Brad, he would text or call Will. Hey, Will, got a friend named Brad. He runs a podcast. I think you'd be great on there. He speaks to financial advisors, a lot of which you share your wisdom out of Unreasonable Hospitality. And he would basically sell Will on why he needs to know Brad. And then he would flip it. Brad, I want to introduce you to Will. Oh, he's a world-class speaker. You guys should, have him in to speak. Definitely have him on the podcast. So he would start by getting both parties excited and getting permission, most importantly. And so once it was a yes on both sides, the double opt-in, the next thing he would do is he would make an introduction like no other. And I've got a lot of really cool friends that are very giving people that make introductions. And I'll tell you, there's a massive difference between a quick email of like, Will meet Brad, Brad meet Will, you guys should connect, or a text, something like that. I will tell you probably the success rate of connections like that is maybe 50%. But what John would do, he would take his iPhone and he would do a selfie video and he would essentially say, Will Guidara, meet Brad Johnson. I'm so excited for you guys to connect. And this wasn't fake excitement. This was real. Like John got joy in connecting people. And then he would basically do like a mini bio on each side about how awesome the other person was and why he was so excited for this relationship to happen, the connection to happen. And then John, keep in mind, from a sheer volume standpoint, he was Cutco, the knife company, their number one salesperson in the history of the company by like, I don't know how much over number two, but it was a couple times over. So the guy could sell. And he would sell this video of like why it was so important for these two humans to connect. And then he would put a call to action in there. So at the end, he would say, I see a podcast in your future. You definitely should do a podcast together. Brad, definitely you want to have Will come out and speak for you guys. And he would say, in the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, make sure you make this happen, guys. So if you think about that, any of us that have been trained in sales, he was boxing it in, closing the sale, basically saying, here's how awesome this guy is or girl. Here's how awesome this guy or girl is. You guys should definitely connect and make it happen by this timeline. And here's a couple of first steps, I think, to get the ball rolling. And the guy was an absolute master. And I don't know that I ever had a John Ruhlin introduction that did not connect. And he would even follow up. He'd say, "Hey, did you connect with Will?" A few weeks later. I don't know if John took crazy notes or he just had an insane memory, but I feel like he always remembered all the little details, all the kids' names, what you were up to, all of that. He was an absolute incredible listener. So that's lesson number one. And we'll put an example in the show notes